Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is Thursday, March 7th. This meeting is being recorded by WCTV, broadcast by WCTV, audio recorded by Jamie Wixton. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank Mr. Sweat for filling in as chair for the last two meetings. I understand we have an hour record in the last meeting, so we'll see what we can do tonight. First up, we have public participation. Anyone wish to address the committee? Seeing no one, we're going to start with good news. And the first item on good news tonight is our school resource officer, who would like to introduce us in the town to Lexi. Let's see his dog training skills.
She's getting a lot of treats, though. Hey. Hey, sit. Sit. Down.
Scratch first, down later.
She's like, I'm itchy.
No.
So Carl, maybe you can explain to us who Lexi is and what role Lexi's going to play in the schools.
So Lexi's going to be a comfort dog. I was, when we came before, I was going to another organization, and it just was taking too long. It was just taking way too long. Then the district attorney approached the chief, and the district attorney's office is sponsoring dogs for all the county. They got a Department of Justice grant. So they wanted dogs. So the chief had my lieutenant, Mike Smith, look into it, and 4 days later, I had the dog. So.
And how old is Lexi?
Lexi's 3 months old. Oof. Yeah, she's, I've had her for 2 weeks now. She's a lot. But I always had dogs, but I never had a puppy. So,
Does she go home with you?
She lives with me, yeah, she's with me.
And ideally, so what function will Lexi have in school?
She's gonna be a comfort dog, so she's gonna be like a therapeutic dog for the kids. I think she's already doing that. I think she's done great so far. The kids love her.
So for example, if a kid was maybe upset or a little tense.
And it happened today, so I was just, I guess she has no training yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in they had a career day at the middle school, and I was in the auditorium, and one of the guidance counselors said, can you go out to, do a 9? I went out there, and the kid was, upset, and he went to go walk away, and then he had already met Lexi before. She came over, she sat on his lap, he was like, he just de-escalated.
Perfect.
So it did, it does, that's without any training for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's still a puppy, so as she gets older, it'll be even better.
Who does the training, Carl?
Charlie Young, he's a Wareham. He coaches softball for Wareham too.
Yeah.
And he has a school in Middleborough. So that's who the district attorney's office goes through. And so all everything's gonna be funded through the district attorney's office, through the DOJ grant.
Now,
So the training, the purchase of the dog, and they're gonna equip my cruiser with the cage and the air conditioner, the fan, alarm that go to my phone if the car gets too hot. So.
Now, how long is the training, and I hate to say this, but is it possible that Lexi could fail?
No. Well, she could fail. I think if she fails, that means I failed.
No dog left behind, Jeff.
Yeah, there's IEPs on dogs. As long as it doesn't follow my IEP when I had in school.
She's perfect.
Other questions? Feel free to.
So you both go to training together?
Yes, so she's only 3 months, so
Yeah.
5 or 6 months old.
Oh, okay.
So it's gonna be good right for summer break. I'll train with Charlie with her.
Uh-huh.
And I'd say September, she'll be a different dog.
Wow. Is there a whole group of dogs that will train together?
Yeah, well, Charlie trains. Charlie changes dogs overnight, you know.
Uh-huh.
I go tomorrow with him, and I bet, she's still pulling, just puppy stuff, but,
Yeah.
I bet a lot of that will stop after tomorrow.
Mhm.
But she's a puppy.
Well, it's funny, because we were just talking, Kevin, you weren't here, but we were just talking about the dog at our last meeting, and then the next day, you had a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quick.
Would the district attorney be willing to give a dog to the school committee too? She's adorable.
Well, we appreciate you bringing her in tonight so we could take a look, and
The kids are getting to class late.
Yeah.
I think they're forgetting they have a schedule to follow.
Well, that's a lot of extra work for you, so.
It is a lot,
Thank
but
you.
I think it'll be worth it. I know it would be worth it. I seen what Bentley does.
Yeah.
I've seen what all these other dogs are doing, so I know it'll definitely be worth, when she's fully trained.
So, service dogs, there are certain rules.
A service dog's for a particular.
I understand she's not a service dog,
Yeah.
but there are certain rules about service dogs. Are there rules about comfort dogs,
Rules
as in what you don't do?
no.
Okay.
No. Service dogs, you know, and they can travel with you, they can go in restaurants. She can go in the restaurants and businesses with me, but, you know, I can't use her as she's not a service to me.
But you don't pet, for example, the service dog.
Correct.
I assume petting,
No, this is why I have her now, and basically making her bomb-proof, that, you know, the kids are gonna pull her tail and her hair and do all this other stuff, and you want that. So that's why I'm bringing her into the school now, so she's used to it. If I waited for 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, she's already, you know, getting her own person. She might not like that. So now, you know, she's doing great. You could ask, you know, the 2 principals back there. I think she's, you know, the kids are all over her. She goes right down. You know, she's still puppy, so she wants to nip. But it's not really nipping. It's just she doesn't know what to do with it. So.
Mhm.
well, good luck, Carl, thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for
Dr.
bringing
Schwamm?
her in, yeah.
I just wanted to mention that I think
Andrea, I
Yeah.
can see you.
I think we started this conversation 6 years ago or something
Yes.
on the weekend.
Yes.
We were back and forth with the different elements that would need to happen to have this happen in schools. And one of the things I think the dog needs is somebody like Carl to protect the dog from overstimulation, right? Like, so there's a level of training, I think, that's really important to make sure that the care of the dog is taken highly into consideration to be of the utmost success in the endeavor. So,
I would hire Carl to take care of me.
yeah, I would, yeah, it works. But I think that Carl, you know, he's all over that and understands all that needs to happen, which we're very
I do get
fortunate.
her, you know, once sometimes I worry about her going to the bathroom because she's still potty training. So she already did it in the foyer after the basketball game. I got a bill from Jimmy Kudo. Put it on the next morning I go to work, there's on my desk a bill for 4 hours. I said, Jimmy, you guys only get 2-hour increments. You're not the police. You're not the police.
Well, we'll let Lexi get home and back to sleep, and we thank you very much.
She sleeps all night, which is great.
It's like having a kid all over
Yeah.
again.
Oh, she's
Yeah, it's been
so
30 years.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's been 30. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Your chief told me to put it for 4 hours, by the way.
All right, so that's a hard act to follow, but who else would like to offer good news? Oh, Joyce, and then we'll go.
Well, so I forgot to mention this last time, that Jeff and I had actually met at the Bluefoot Cafe to see the art show that was being displayed by the middle school students, which was so nice. And the employees at the Bluefoot Cafe said that they had had such a great response to the show, that lots of extra people had come in to see it. And now I know that I believe the high school is going to be showcasing art there. So Jeff will have to go back and see the high school art show at the Bluefoot.
Great, thank you. Dr. DeAndrea?
So Mr. Palladino shared with me an email that he received from a Maimonides school parent after the basketball game the other night, and I wanted to share it, and he's allowed me to do that. Mr. Palladino, I am writing about last night's basketball game. I am a parent of Maimonides school basketball player and attended the game with my wife and kids. My parents, who are in their 70s and 80s, also attended. I just wanted to note to you what a good experience we had at the game interacting with your fans. At many of our schools' away games this year, the opposing team and fans did not always give us a welcoming reception. Your fans and community members were very considerate and complimentary of our players. Several of your fans asked very polite and respectful questions and were warm and engaging, telling us all about your team and wanting to find out more about my Menemese team. One gentleman even invited us to his restaurant. You have a terrific basketball team, one of the best high school teams that I have seen play in person, with kids that play the right way. We wish your school the best for the remainder of the tournament. Thank you to the Wareham community for such a positive experience last night.
Wow,
I thought that was really good.
Excellent.
very nice.
Very good.
I've said a couple of times also that I sat right across from their fan group, and they had really great fans, too. You could just tell, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That is good news. Related to that is the fact that the boys' basketball team will be playing in the round of 8 tomorrow night, which is the equivalent of the sectional final back in the old tournament format, against Lynn Tech at 6 p.m. Any other good news? All right, we'll end on that note. So we'll move on to minutes of the meeting from February 1st and February 15th. I'll ask first if there are any corrections that need to be made to the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we'll go the old school way on this for now. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 500. Thank you. Next, we have the student representative report. Gisela?
Thank you. Just to reiterate, the boys basketball team won their game. It was 79-51 and are moving on with 3 more games to win. In club news, the AV club at the Wareham High School posted their morning show on March 1st. Sign-ups for the student-teacher basketball game were posted this week, and the entire school is getting incredibly excited for that game. The Wareham Viking Theater Company unfortunately did not move on with their silent play Emotional Baggage, but did win 6 student awards, which is the most the club has won at festival in the club's history. They won 1 award for acting, 1 for costumes, 1 for makeup, and 3 students won an award for music composition as they created 8 songs for the show. And today started rehearsals for the spring musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The Key Club's prom dress drive continued to receive dresses, totaling 28 dresses, which students can take home for free. And Colonel Stanton has reported that multiple students have already. Dr. Roth has continued his Music Mondays, which, as usual, has been a success, and has posted flyers around the school offering to teach free instrument lessons to students who currently aren't in band or don't have space in their schedule. And on a more slightly academic side, 8th graders through 11th graders were given the cell phone policy survey on Monday. And lastly, the seniors had a senior meeting discussing which pivotal Wareham Wareham staff member of their choosing would be handing them their diplomas.
Any questions for Giselle? Jeff?
Could you describe the cell phone survey for us?
I was not a part of the survey, so I do not know, but I'm sure. Yes.
Because they won't be here next year if and when we change policy.
So you didn't?
I did not see it.
You never saw it?
I never saw it.
So we'll have to ask Mr. Palladino about that.
Correct.
Okay.
Did you get any feedback from the students, though? You said everyone's filling it out. Do people seem to have a positive opinion on it, or do they think like, oh God, they're gonna, ruin our cell phone? What's the general student impression that you've gotten?
So we talked about it in one of our classes, which I thought was really a great opportunity. And also, Mr. Palladino had the student advisory meeting, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, where I also heard students' opinions on it. And overall, students did not take it quite harshly. I think they were understanding the stresses that not only teachers are going through, but also the effects that phones do have on students themselves. So I think the main response was that they understand that something needs to be changed. They're just not sure what that looks like and what it'll look like that'll still give students their own autonomy over their cell phones. And also something that prioritizes safety in case anything, regardless of, I don't know, if anything security-wise or a drill was to happen, so.
Excellent.
Thank you, Gisela. Oh, yes, go ahead, Joyce.
Question, but I think we talked about this before. I forget things. But I did pick up the newspaper while I was at this, so I brought up all the school committee members. Sorry. A copy of the newspaper, so. Do you work on the newspaper?
I've worked on it for a couple times. I've done a couple newspapers. But the newspapers are also now on the Wareham website.
Oh, good.
So you can also view past ones online as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Gisela. And we'll move from the student reports to the principal reports. And I'm going to also, after the principals give their reports, we're going to move up the school choice vote on the agenda right after that in order to get, if we have questions, the principals can answer them.
Thank you.
Sure. Starting with high school. Go for it, Scott.
Are you sure?
Yes, you.
Oh, reverse order, okay. So, in regards to student attendance, our student attendance rate for the month of February was 92.3%. We had 15 school days in February with a vacation in a short month. Staff attendance was 95.7%. You guys all stole my good news on the basketball team, but I'm going to switch it up, though, because I had both basketball teams in my good news, and I want to thank Joyce for coming up to Fitchburg to support the girls' team, and we had a very, very spirited game last Tuesday versus St. Bernard's of Fitchburg, and we were up by 1 at halftime, but more exciting for me was the fact that the girls made the tournament. It's been a few years since we were in the tournament, and we have a very, very young and competitive team, so I'm really looking forward to the future to see what these young ladies do. But I know the attention has turned to the boys now, but I just wanted to highlight the girls. They had a great year. And the track teams finished out the season with many students making it to the state level in the track meets, and our co-op hockey team actually won the first round game that they played, and unfortunately lost in the second round, but had a great year as well. So, you know, everyone's kind of in the tournament, so to speak. In regards to school events, yesterday we had Robert Hackerman, who is a magician and a guest speaker, talking to our students about vaping. We had our 8th and 9th grade students in the auditorium to hear that presentation. It was pretty powerful and hopefully meaningful to the students. Today, Dr. DeAndrea and I had a chance to see our students leave for DECA, and they are going to the state meet in Boston, and they'll be back on Saturday, and we're looking forward to seeing those students hopefully score qualifying scores to allow them to go to the international competition. And we have a couple students that are going to be commuting back that are on the basketball team as well, so they're wearing many hats this week. I just came from our dual enrollment night. We had about 20 parents at our dual enrollment night for the 7th graders, soon to be 8th graders, in regards to the application process for our dual enrollment program in 8th grade. This weekend we have AP and IB science mock exams going on at the high school. On March 13th, we have another on-the-spot admission day, this time for Cape Cod Community College. Gisela mentioned the basketball game. You better be playing if you're mentioning it at school committee. Maybe I'll grab Mr. Bajoli. I heard he can play, but we're always looking for faculty to play. But that's always a great event. The kids really get excited about it. Fortunately, it's buzzer basketball. I don't know if you know what that is, Mr. Bajoli, but it's 2-minute shifts, and we all can do 2-minute shifts in basketball. So it's a lot of fun, and it goes by quick. Buzzer basketball. We have on March 23rd our AP and IB math mock exams, so the students are really starting to get ready for the end of course exams in AP and IB. And our DECA auction has been moved up. Traditionally it's in May, and they're going to have that on March 24th. Now, looking at initiatives to really improve our learning, I want to highlight that we had a chance to do rounds this week with a representative from TNTP, which is a program that we're using as grant-funded consultant, and we had a chance to go through classrooms for our third rounds, and I was really impressed with, they have a calibration where they're showing the growth, and we're really seeing a lot of growth with our ELA teachers, specifically in the implementation of StudySync and looking at it from a pedagogy standpoint. There's a lot of great improvements that we're seeing from our staff. In math, we're continuing to use illustrated math, and what's going to be exciting for us is we're going to kind of shift focus next year from an administrative standpoint when we do these rounds to kind of look at the math next year, English this year. Our staff has really embraced the NUIA assessments, and they're getting quality feedback on the data for that. And to date, department heads and administration have observed approximately 500 teachers to date, so I'm excited about the fact that we're still able to get in the classrooms with a lot of initiatives that we have on our plate. So those are some things that are going on at the high school. Certainly entertain any questions you may have. And if you want me to talk about the cell survey, I can do that now too, if you choose.
Brendan?
I'll ask about the cell survey. What's the...
It's simple. We try to get feedback from everyone. Obviously, the students are a big part of our feedback, and I know I've mentioned in previous meetings, I think sometimes we survey them to death, but it's going to be interesting to see the response we get, because sometimes the surveys, you might get 25, 30% of the students to respond. I anticipate we'll have a high return rate on this survey. It's real simple. The first question, do you think electronics, and this includes cell phones and earbuds, are distracting to your learning? So it's a yes or no. Are there clear consequences for having your phone or earbuds out in school? Yes or no. At school, do you use a phone and then they have to select what they use it for, social, academic, music reasons? If storing your electronics is mandatory, what storing method would you prefer? A locking pouch, they call them Yodas, they give that as an example. Your phone or headphones that you would keep them in there during the day, phone or lockers to store your phones in during class. And then we gave them kind of an open response. Is there any additional information you would like to share in regards to changing the cell phone policy? So I think we're going to get some good feedback. Gisela mentioned during our advisory rep meeting, we had a chance to talk with our advisory students. We have one rep from every advisory class that we have, and we had a chance to kind of talk about this. And I anticipate there'll be some really good recommendations and really good procedures in place as we move forward. We were very fortunate to get this grant from DESE, so I'm anticipating some good movement. And obviously, they understand that there is a deadline to this, because we want to make sure it's incorporated into the changes that we're going to make with our handbook. So I anticipate some changes, and we'll start to see where that's going in the very near future. The committee has gone to 2 different high schools to see different procedures and policies in place. I will tell you, it was very difficult for them to get into schools. A lot of people were very apprehensive to let people in to look at their cell phone procedures and policies. And I think we can all understand why that is.
Jeff?
Color me confused about why people won't share. I mean, you have all sorts of, I assume, colleagues after all these years who have a variety of different cell phone procedures and policies, and I would think you'd love to hear about what's working and what's not working. You saying there's a reticence to share that information?
I think, and I've had people tell me this, that we don't want you coming in because our policy isn't being adhered to. So I think what's out there in the public in many cases, probably not all, but in many, the policy that's listed isn't necessarily the policy that's followed. So they don't want to have people from the outside coming in to see a policy that frankly isn't working.
Yeah, but I hope they will share that it's not working.
Well, they do, and we don't send people there, obviously. But it was very difficult to get into a couple of schools to see how things work and to talk with their staff. We were very fortunate to have some friends in the business that were willing to open up the doors.
So without sharing the answer to this question,
Yes.
have you come to a conclusion as to what perhaps is the right decision? Don't tell me what the decision is.
Well, they still haven't made the decision yet.
I understand, but it's not, ultimately, they're an advisory group.
Correct.
You're the decision maker.
They're going to give me a couple of options to look at, and then obviously from there, I'll have to decide
But
where
you're,
we go.
at the moment, you're open.
I think we'll see some change to the policy. I don't think the policy will be standing as is right now next year. There's a couple things they're looking at. The issue, frankly, is they really want to have a mechanism in the classroom that we can utilize to support the teachers to store these phones. And the pricing is very difficult, and being able to find a vendor that we can actually use is becoming very difficult. So there's just some hurdles we're trying to jump through, but I think we'll be all right in the end.
Because you really want to call it a procedure, not a policy, because as soon as it's a policy, it's the
Right.
school committee has to.
Well, maybe I do want to make it a policy.
Well,
No, I
we
understand.
do have a policy, though,
We
right?
do.
It's just,
To
I get
Jeff's
it, that
point,
it's
it's a
a work in
procedure as part of the
progress.
handbook.
yeah.
Is
But
the
maybe
commi-
I want it as a policy. Then I can turn it over to, like, go see Mr. Sweat, he voted on.
Has the committee done any, like, other research? I don't know what research is out there yet, but they've also done research on the effects of
Right.
social media and,
They've done a lot of
Pages.
research online.
Okay.
And they've done, even before they did research on the procedures and policies that different schools had and tried to align it with a couple different options that they're looking at. So they've done a lot of homework. They've met for a lot of hours and to kind of hash this out. And like I said, I'm excited that they got into 2 schools. One of them, Old Rochester Middle School, ironically, was one of the schools they got into. And they really liked the procedure that they had outlined in their handbook. So
okay.
so that's one version they're looking at, and the other school was further down the Cape, and they actually were looking at a school on the North Shore as well, but that just didn't pan out.
Joyce?
So what you just said just made me think, so Old Rochester Middle School, Wareham Middle School has a no cell phone policy, is that right?
Correct.
So has there been discussions between the middle school and the high school, like creating a continuum of whatever their policy is to?
I don't know about a conversation. The reason we went to the middle school in Old Rochester was because they use pouches that,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's why we went there.
I have spoken to the committee, though, so,
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great,
From
well,
the-
that's good,
from the high school.
okay, thank you.
Brennan?
I'm just wondering if the difficulty that a lot of schools, the reason why a lot of schools don't want to let people in to look at it, I mean, is it possible there really isn't a good cell phone policy other than no cell phones? I mean, is it possible to really enforce it, even if we get pouches and everything? I mean, if kids are gonna have to pull their cell phones in and out of a pouch and bring it to another classroom and put in another pouch in every classroom they attend, I mean, I'm just wondering, is there really a feasible, workable cell phone policy other than just don't bring them?
That's a great question, and I think there's different philosophies on that when I talk to principals. Some principals say, you know what, you're gonna have to figure out how to manage this when you're working, you're gonna have to figure this out in your life, we're not gonna deal with it, you figure it out. And then there's some that say, we're gonna have zero tolerance, and they fight that fight all day long. And then there's some that are in between that are like, you know what, we'll find certain times where you can use it, but what happens with that is it kind of blends in with the classroom. Like, you can use the hall and the cafeteria, then all of a sudden they're using it in the classroom. And so you've got kind of those 3 different philosophies. I think they're going to come back with some really good data and some really good ideas to enhance our policy. So I'm looking forward to that. They're about probably like 2/3 of the way through the process. So they're, they wanted to make sure they got feedback from the students, which I think is probably the most
Excellent,
important
yeah,
feedback you can
absolutely.
get. They're getting feedback from the staff as well. Staff is doing a survey as well. They're presenting to our advisory reps on Tuesday, and they're talking to them about the survey and the survey data, and then they're going to present to us at a general meeting as well, coming up in a couple Mondays.
April?
So a majority of people that have phones now also have like another smart device, like a watch, an Apple Watch or a Samsung Watch. What is, if their phone is locked up, right, they're still able to text their friends on their watch. Are you going to, is that going to be incorporated in part of the policy, or because it's more of a, like a social media structured kind of target, I would think, is that, they could still text or call their parent from the watch, or is that still something that all devices, like if they have earbuds, if they have their phone, if they have everything has to go in a pouch, or is it just the device itself?
Yeah. So I don't see as many smartphones as you might think we would see in the high school. I'm not saying that some kids don't have them. Gisela might have a better pulse on that, but I don't see a lot of them. I don't think watches are really like hip anymore,
Yeah.
even smartwatches.
You start locking up their phones, though, they all might go
They all
get
get
them.
'em, yeah.
You know, if they have to put their phone in a pouch, and they can
Yeah,
still
yeah.
text their friends,
Yeah,
like,
good point. Right,
so
we may
I'm
start
just-
seeing them, right? But it is, they're going to say this is the policy for any device that you can communicate with and earbuds. So that will kind of encompass all those.
And
forms
then,
of
so I know that there's also, they have some smartphone apps for, say, someone who is a diabetic, where they will get an alert on their phone
Right.
for their blood sugar. So I'm guessing that these policies would have exceptions for, medical necessity.
Right. We've got probably a dozen kids that have that exact situation. So certainly we would have exemptions for those people. And it's not just for diabetics. There's some other reasons that kids have those for medical reasons. So definitely that's something they're incorporating into the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palladino. We'll probably have some school choice questions in a few
I'm
minutes.
here for ya.
So who would like to go next?
All right, it's Wareham Middle School. So we have an exciting March. We have our spring concert coming up next Thursday, the 14th. March is College and Career Month for us, so we have 3 panels today, 5 community members on each panel, so 15 community members that attended our career panels by grade level, and it was an awesome presentation by our community members. The students were engaged, really just having our middle schoolers learn about college and learn about different types of careers. And we had a variety of people who presented, and they enjoyed themselves, the students enjoyed it, so this is really something really to connect our community members with our students, and Lexi was there too, representing. We have our play that it's at the end of the month. The drama presentation is Willy Wonka Kids, so that's exciting as well. We have a pretty busy month academic-wise, with a few, early release days, staff and service days, and a holiday coming up. But other than that, we are academically motivated in March with lots of days. As Mr. Palladino said, February was a short month. Our attendance for students remains 93. It keeps turning out to be 93, and our staff attendance was 95. And thank you for mentioning the Bluefoot Cafe. We have pulled our artwork out, and I do believe when I went in there last, the high school artwork was there, so it's a great display and really another connection with the community. I think that works well. So,
Great.
questions?
Joyce?
I'm curious, who was your most favorite presenter today?
Oh, that's difficult. We had a marine biologist, which I'm just fascinated, I guess, the science aspect of that, but that was really fascinating. We also had a returning person who does the graphics for books. He says he's doing a lot of, he's working for breweries, and so he does a lot of the bottle display artwork. So he's always really interesting for the children. I think which was the most inspiring this time is we had 3 returning students of mine. They were students. So that was really exciting. One student who has opened her own business. So it's just awesome to see them sitting there and saying, when I was in middle school. And so that was nice.
I actually thought about volunteering when I saw the email, but then I thought, accounting is so boring, kids.
No, I mean, honestly, they're
I
really,
spared them.
they're really just interested in, I mean, when you're a kid, what do you want to be? It's hard to think of. I think even when my own children were, and I said, you can be anything you want in the whole wide world. What is that? And you always think of like the normal careers. My daughter came out with chemical engineering. I don't know where that came out. I go, what? Why would you want to do that? But like, I just think it's fascinating to know. Like, yeah, and it is exciting. There was a community member that has 3 different degrees, and he was explaining like all 3 of his degrees, and then, I didn't want to do that, so I became this, and I think they need to hear that, so.
Awesome, thank you.
We'll get you next year.
Okay.
Jeff?
So, the world's most famous banker, Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase, recently was interviewed, and he literally came out against college.
Yeah.
And said people can earn $60,000, $70,000,
Yeah.
$80,000 a year without having a college
Yeah.
degree. Do you sense any pushback from parents, not so much kids, I would think, but from parents? And I guess this would apply to, the question would apply to Mr. Palladino as well. This whole thing, because you guys tend to be focused on preparing for the next period of your education, and here you've got this billionaire saying, don't bother.
Yeah, I mean, I have one kid that went to college and one kid that didn't. So I'm a proponent of becoming who you want to become. My son is debt-free. He has a great job. He's actually ahead of a lot of the kids that have graduated with him who have a lot of debt and they can't get a job in poetry. So I know, Mr. Bajali, humanities. But I mean, in reality, like, we're encouraging not just college, we're just encouraging
Successful kids.
Yeah, to be a successful, productive member of society. And what does that mean?
Self-actualize.
Yeah, and what does that mean for you? I'm not a proponent in spending, $300,000 in college and coming out and not getting a job. I'm not a proponent in that. If you believe this or not, I'm a realist. So what I say to my kids is, what are you going to do when you graduate? Tell me what that looks like, right? So, and I say that to these kids, what do you want to do? But in Wareham, I feel that a lot of our kids look at just Wareham, like, let's look outside the world and see what we can do. And they can do great things. They're a great group of kids. And I have high ambitions for them. I want them to have high ambitions and to feel like, yes, I can do this. So whatever that may be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bethany?
Okay, Wareham Elementary School. We'll begin with attendance. So we're up from last month. We have a 93% attendance for staff and 92.06 attendance for students, to be specific. But we're working towards it, and we're having an excellent March Madness this month. Attendance has been very good. 5 out of 8 of my grade 2 classrooms had perfect attendance. I read it every day, so I have a gauge to how many classrooms every day. And we are really rocking it out. Everybody's attending school. I think the bug has ended for the winter. Let's hope. This week we enjoyed the annual Scholastic Book Fair hosted by the PTA, and I want to do a big shout out to all the volunteers, all of our parents who volunteered throughout the day, throughout the week, and last night we had a book fair evening, which was wonderful. So many of our families from Wareham Elementary School attended that evening, and it was a really great time. This Friday we are having a jump rope for a heart. We have raised thousands of dollars for the American Heart Association. Thank you to our physical education teachers, Mr. Paling and Ms. Semple, for hosting this great event. We're also, speaking of cell phones and whatnot, we don't have cell phones too much at grade 4, in the elementary. I don't worry about too much. However, starting in grade 4, we do have a lot of internet connection. So we are doing a presentation with grade 4 students on cyber safety with Ms. Ottaviano and Ms. Densberger. Ms. Ottaviano, my guidance counselor, Ms. Densberger, our adjustment counselor, on internet safety on Friday morning. In other news, I have kindergarten registration. May I speak to that while I'm here? It's on the agenda. Is that okay? Okay. We had kindergarten registration this week. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year to see all of our new Wareham Public School students entering, right? This is their next 13 years of school. And we had a really warm reception. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Ms. LaFrancois, Ms. Ansel, Nurse Braley. They have been there taking in the registrations for our incoming K families. We had 62 new families. And just to gauge what our population may be like in kindergarten, I wanted to give you these figures. Kindergarten registration, we have 62 in 2 days. We have 49 students from pre-kindergarten registering into kindergarten, so we are rolling them over, so to speak. And I have 14 retentions. So as of right now, I have about 125 kindergarten students, and we haven't ended March yet. So I predict we will be at about 200 for our enrollment for kindergarten. And I just wanted to do a shout out to the staff for kindergarten registration, because I received a few emails from our brand new families, and one email said, I want to say thank you for the warm reception at the kindergarten registration yesterday. Everyone was so professional and knowledgeable. So a huge thanks to our staff for that. And I just wanted to give you two. I just wanted to share with the school committee. This is a brochure of expectations of kindergarten here. So you can see we've done this for years. It's just to let our families know what is expected in kindergarten. I also give out the sight words that are expected for students to learn. This year we've added QR codes so they can have connections there. And Ms. Fondulis in the CFCE, which is the Community Family Engagement Grant, we meet once a month and we talk about ways to engage our new families. We're going to have a puppet show on April 4th for our new kindergartners coming in. We also, of course, will have that ice cream social that's coming on June 6th, so I'll be inviting you all to that to serve up some ice cream, as we always do. So very exciting times in Wareham Elementary School.
Questions to Dr. Chandler? Jeff?
You seem to struggle with staff attendance more than the middle and the high school. Is there a particular reason, you think?
Could be.
I think I have a lot of staff. I have more staff. I don't know
Doesn't
if that's
affect
relative. No.
These are percentages, not
I know.
absolute.
Maybe we're close together. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have a younger staff. I do have some illnesses out that are out for a longer term, but I don't know the exact pinpoint reason objectively of why my percent may be down by 1 or 2.
I love this document.
Thank you.
Tell me about your retentions and the specific. First, I'd like to know whether the number of retentions that you're anticipating is greater or less than prior years. And secondly, can we assume that if some child is not retained, that they are, in your opinion, fully prepared for first grade?
Okay. So I have 14 I shared. 14 is a bit above average. Usually I retain, there's about 10. So I have about approximately 33% more than I normally do. And we retain in kindergarten, and I think that that is something that is available. Time is on our side in kindergarten, so that's something we use. And we say to our families is, whether a child's on an IEP or not, you can never get back time. This is a gift. It's a gift to give a child one more year, and some children just need that time. Will I put forward some students that are not quite ready for first grade that will? Yes, just because their IEPs share that they have supports in place to help them grow. And if I know that they can grow and they have the supports in place, they will move forward. We have the Lights Retention Scale, too, which is a scale we'll use for those students who are, I'm unsure of, due to, we're looking at their birth dates. There's other factors. Siblings are coming up. And so we use that scale. The teachers use that, we measure that, and we look at that and we speak to the families about that. And there are some cases where we have to use that to make that decision as well.
Have the criteria for retention changed since last year, for example?
Well, I think we have more data than we've ever had before due to the assessment calendar that we've built. It's very, very rich. I wouldn't say compared to last year, but compared to when I began as principal 7 years ago, absolutely. I think we've become much more objective about our decisions to retain and less subjective.
And if a child is retained, are they automatically in a summer program to help them get prepared?
Oftentimes they are in the boost program, yes, or in care, as they should be, because they need time to learn.
But sometimes they're neither one of those.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the data there, Mr. Sweat. I don't know. But yes, they should be.
And how about, this is kindergarten you're speaking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you already have a sense of the first graders who might be retained?
Yes, I've already had my first meeting with all of the staff. I believe I have 6. I can pull it up. I do have it. But I have a sense, I think I have about 6 or 7 retentions for first grade. And I have possibly 4 or so for second grade.
Okay, and are those, I'd love to say required, but are those basically all going into some kind of boost summer program?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is retain them a second time.
Exactly. And nor will that be maybe productive. That's when times goes against us.
I get it. Thank you.
Andrea?
I just wanted to add that we also will offer boost to those students that may have a little bit of just need a little bit more, are moving forward, but need more time. So they also attend boost for extra assurance.
Got it. Thank you.
Joyce?
So first, I just want to say, last time you were here, you gave us.
I know, I didn't even get to that part yet.
Oh, sorry, you're not done.
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
No, go for it. I know, I skipped my curriculum piece to get to, it just flowed with me with
sorry,
K.
I thought you were done.
With events, it just flowed with K registration this week, so I was still on the events.
All right, no, so go ahead, you finish.
Oh, okay, so I just wanted to also say I continue to be a huge fan of CKLA, which is our new ELA programming. The knowledge piece is fantastic. Again, I've been principal for a long time, and we've worked so hard, especially in the early elementary grades, with skill, and teaching children how to read and all of that application. Yet we had a deficit in the knowledge piece, and this program provides knowledge in such a high capacity. I walk through grade 3, they're doing Vikings, and there's long ships, and they're learning so much about knowledge, vocabulary. They're wearing Viking hats today. I even got a little seasick watching them. They were all, it was like this really great because they had they were in a longboat, pretending they were in a longboat as they were working through the knowledge piece. They're doing the Persian Wars in 4th grade. It's very dynamic, and to see how invested our children are, I do think it was a bit of a missing component at the elementary level, and I think that this program has nailed it. So I'm curious if you had an opportunity to look at your reading.
I did.
Ms. Becky,
And my comment last time was I said 3rd grade ELA is no joke.
No joke. No joke.
Yeah.
And the illustrations, what book did you have, Ms. Becky?
Animal classification. Yes.
And it was rich.
It was, yes.
It's
I was
very
reading
rich.
it and yeah, very.
I'm very it's very exciting.
Yes.
It's exciting, and I'm going to put my principal hat off and my mother hat on, and I have a 2nd grader at Wareham Elementary School who comes home and speaks to me about what he's learning in school, and it's the knowledge piece he's speaking to, not the skills. And so that's exciting too, when he's talking about whether it's space or the human body, and sharing out all of this information. I'm like, where are you learning all, you're learning at school. Very good. So it's exciting.
Well, thank you for doing that. That was really fun to do.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did mine too, and I found the same thing. I had the language arts, Unit 5, Light and Sound, and it's grade 3 again. And I'm trying to compare it to my 3rd grade experience, and I was in, even the advanced reading back then, and I think that it was it was very different to see how we're teaching students now compared to, 100 years ago when I was a third grader. And I think that's a lot better because I felt like it was more, I guess, encompassing, that it wasn't just teaching language skills, it was a knowledge component of how to learn in general.
Yes.
That skills that even though this is a language arts books, the way that you're being taught could apply to things like science, mathematics, history. And I thought that was very interesting and very good to see that, third graders are a lot smarter than we give them credit for if they're getting through this. So I was surprised to see it, yeah.
They're all a lot smarter than we
Yeah,
have to give them
exactly.
credit for.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to our discussion and then vote on school choice. I don't know, Dr. DeAndrea, do you want to start us off?
In my newsletter, I just pointed out that I recommend that we remain in school choice. I'm glad that the principals are here. They can talk a little bit about, it really falls on them because they know their buildings, they know the numbers, they know the needs of the students, and they have to put, for every application that comes in, they got to look at the considerations, and they also have to determine beforehand how many spots they're going to have open in each grade. So I think it's good that we have it as an option as applications come, but these are the folks that have to determine whether or not, when and where there are spaces available in their buildings.
So let's start with elementary then, in terms of spaces and what your thoughts are on school choice, Dr. Chandler.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pajoli. I'm concerned about voting for school choice for next year for Wareham Elementary School as I read the numbers to you. I will begin with the highest grade, which is grade 4. I have 163 students with 7 teachers, slotted for 7 teachers. That's a class size of 22. In grade 3, I have 172 students enrolled with 8 teachers with a 21 students average class size. In grade 2, I have 179 students in that grade with 9 teachers, average size 21, 22 students in each class. In grade 1, 173 students. I have 9 teachers, 19 students. In grade K, this is a projection. I did project 185. I do think now that I'm at 125 in March, I will have at least 185. If I have 10 teachers in there, that's 18 students, and I feel like I'm lowballing that. And 18 kindergarten students in a classroom without a paraprofessional is a lot of work. It's a lot, brand new to school. So that's where the class sizes are in conjunction with my sub-separate programming. In my primary ASD, I have 9 students. In my primary TLC, I have 5 students. In my primary LC, I have 10 students. In my ASD, upper ASD, I have 10 students. My upper LC, I have 5 students. And my upper learning, I'll have 9 students as well. So my sub-separate programming is also high. And that's where I'm at with Wareham Elementary.
So are you saying you would not recommend accepting any school choice in any grade based on the ratios?
My ratio. And the incoming, I'm just concerned based on some of the building happening and the apartments coming in, I think that the enrollment is going to be extremely high for 24, 25.
Okay. April?
So, the way the school choice works now is we accept them if there's space. So the space would automatically go in those classrooms to a resident beforehand. So if there is no space, it's a moot point to whether we have it or not, because you wouldn't be able to accept them. So having it, because it's district-wide, it's all or nothing, right? Is it per school?
You can do it by school, you can do it by grade.
Okay, so it could be, but I was always under the impression that it was all or nothing for the as a district-wide. I don't know if anyone else was under the same impression or if that was just the way that I interpreted it.
Yeah, I actually looked that up today, and you can vote it by school.
So my other thing is, we do have students currently enrolled that are school choice. should a school or a part of the school no longer or currently not accept them, do those students stay enrolled because they're grandfathered
Yes.
to that point? And then my other concern is we lose students to other districts similarly where we're paying out those tuitions, but then we receive that tuition back for students that are school choiced into our district. So then to me, that ends up being like a wash almost, like we're getting kind of breaking even when we do accept students because we're paying as a district those tuitions to people that are leaving the district. So how do we then justify, then we're just paying out money without being able to receive back for anyone that would want to come into our district. So I'm just, I understand, you know, class sizes, and I do understand with the building that's going on that there is the potential to be, and I know the MSBA, when they built the school, looked at current enrollment with a little wiggle room because that's the only thing that they're allowed to do. So I hear people say all the time when they drive by the elementary school, like, that school's huge. And we have so many, and you guys are already at, I don't think people understand that you guys were pretty much, when the doors open, almost at capacity.
That's right.
So I think it's hard for people at home to understand why that appears that way. So I don't know if anyone could speak to that. Because I think it's, one of our biggest things is like having the community understand why we do what we do and what we're, you know, the choices that we're making in this room. And if they're looking at the school saying, well, if we're paying out, which I understand, and we're getting money in, and the school's at like how it's at capacity, I think, or how, you know, because I remember being in kindergarten, I had like 30 kids in my class without a paraprofessional, and I understand that times are different and we have a higher need population, but like when you hear from people that are like, oh, well, when I went to school this, when I went to school that, like, just so we can understand or maybe articulate out to those that haven't had a kid recently in the district, how that is challenging for you guys to have a size bigger than that. Because, you know, it's, everyone's like, well, when I was in my day, we didn't need that, or we didn't have that. So just to help the people who have to vote, like,
Well,
for
I'll
our
speak to
budget,
okay.
understand it.
I'll speak to kindergarten. Kindergarten was just became a full-time position, you know, full-time a few years ago. It used to be a half-time. Kindergartners came half a day. Now they come full days. It's a much longer day. I'll speak to, our kids are different. I mean, we're talking about, we're in the, you know, 2020s now. And
I don't think you would see any kindergarten, first grade classes at 30.
I just don't.
Oh, no,
think-
I don't disagree
Yeah,
with you, but I'm just saying, when we
it's-
go to town meeting and
yeah,
we're
it's-
asking for X, Y, and Z, and they know that we get money
Yeah.
for school choice, just so that other people who then
But,
have to vote
I
for the
mean,
budget we're presenting
Right.
can
you
understand why we're making
You have to
these
justify the
decisions.
school choice as a school committee. Is it worth having school choice and looking at those numbers?
Right.
Where she may have to reduce those numbers, because right now she has a budget, but we don't know if that's going to be the budget. So it might be higher than that number in those classes, right? So she has to justify, as a school committee, you have to justify if you're going to accept school choice and go to 25 in a second grade class. I mean,
I can't necessarily hire a teacher with the budget we're at either. And
So-
so I don't know what the enrollment, I've had a lot of enrolled throughout the year as well. We've had a lot of enrollment come in. From an elementary perspective, my numbers are pretty sustained. If you listen, I say 173 in grade 1, 179 in grade 2, 172. So I know my numbers are about at the 170s in 5 of my grades. We don't really fluctuate. We do have students move in and out, but those numbers really remain pretty much the same at 170 something.
and
so
regardless if she gets more students, she's not hiring more teachers.
that's the
No,
thing.
that I understand, and I understand that, I know everyone in this room
Yeah.
understands it,
Yeah,
but just because
so, yeah.
go for other people who
Yeah.
don't pay attention,
Yeah,
for them to have that information, I think is important.
yeah,
So-
definitely.
Joyce?
Relative to that, can we just talk about, so you talk about, well, we receive money per student coming in, but correct me if I'm wrong, we receive $5,000? And that's far less than the cost of educating that child? Yes. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was right.
Well-
So it's not like we're so it's, for every student who comes into the district, it costs us money. I mean,
Well, and you're-
certainly if we're able to,
We want to.
It's valuable. But right in the situation that we're in right now with the numbers so high and the budget.
And you also can't be selective, it's
You
open to
take
all.
what you get. and
Right.
There's a lot of
So I
baggage
guess
with
what
what
I'm
you get.
saying is, it's not like we receive what the cost of educating that child. It still costs us money to receive a child into the district. I mean, that's pretty simplified, but is that true?
It's more than double.
In some cases, yes. In some cases, yes. I mean, it depends on the student, depends
Right.
on the needs of the student. That it could be a lot more than 5,000, but it could be less.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I came into the meeting already questioning, look, maybe we shouldn't be a school choice district anymore. And listening to you and the other two principals haven't even spoken yet, yeah.
Jeff?
We have huge fixed costs in this district. And if you simply take a student and absorb them into a class with the same fixed costs and not adding a teacher, okay, then what you get from the state just literally falls to our, I'd love to call it a surplus, but it literally is a positive for the district. That's obviously best case, and it means you haven't hired another teacher, and you haven't hired another custodian and another food service worker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the best case. The worst case is your education deteriorates because you're taking kids, you aren't hiring a teacher, and they have special needs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So every student is going to be a different example, from great for the district to awful for the district. So it's really difficult to generalize. My problem is I am looking at this NESDEC, okay, survey that was sent to us, okay? They make the assertion that in the early years of their projections, because they are projecting enrollments, okay? In the early years, and they mean by that the first 4 years, okay, that they have these numbers and they back them. They believe they're highly accurate, okay? And for next year, okay, they are saying you are going to have 162 kindergartners. Now, I realize, and they know about the number of homes that are being built and multifamily and all these data, okay, that they claim makes them a better projector of your enrollment than the high numbers that you have as of March, okay? All I'm saying is, I'm feeling like, why are they projecting something that you think is garbage when they think is great? So I'm feeling a disconnect here. The second thing that's obvious is, overall, school choice is a major negative for this, but that's primarily, and the cherry sheet, which frankly the town absorbs, and they let us know that, okay, shows hundreds of thousands of dollars going out and minimal coming in, which is, of course, April's point. You know, financially, if we take a kid, it offsets all the kids that are leaving. So if I know the financial consequences in general are positive, assuming we're don't have all sorts of special needs and hiring teachers, et cetera, and they're showing, by the way, they're literally projecting that your kindergarten class in the year, I know this is so far away, it's almost not meaningful, in the year 2028, is that the year, sorry, is going to be 90-something, okay? I'm not a demographer.
I don't
okay?
know. I'm not either.
I just
know I have 125 right now.
I didn't choose that area of expertise when I had the choice.
Right.
But these people are paid a lot of money to do these projections, and they say you're going to be less than 100 kindergartners, you know.
Well, there I have it.
Well, I hope that's not true.
Then I'll vote for school choice that year.
So I guess my point is, we are shrinking as a district. That's a fact, okay? So when the taxpayer hears that we get money for taking kids who choose Wareham Public Schools, and at least you, I haven't heard from your colleagues yet, but you're asking us to say, we don't want school
Oh, I
choice.
do want school choice. I enjoy having children from other, I do want to, I just don't have the space. It's not that it's not a choice that I make with ease. It's not something I just don't want. I have several school choice students at my school right now that I love and enjoy. We work together. It's wonderful, wonderful families. But I just don't feasibly
I hear you,
feel.
but I'm telling you, this is a difficult vote for this school committee member.
I understand that. I understand that.
Very difficult vote.
I understand that.
May I just speak to the NESDEC?
Yes, please.
I would be interested to see, next year, how accurate they are. And I think, I think this first time I've shared it with you folks, and I don't know if it's the first time you've seen it from NESDEC.
It's not, but it was years ago since I've seen it, so
Yeah,
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so, because they're not always accurate in my experience, and so we'll have to see. I would, if I were a betting man, I'd bet on Bethany right now.
Well, I would
She's
hope
probably
you
right.
would bet on Bethany. Okay?
Joyce?
I just want to say, Jeff, I understand what you're saying. And a lot of the decisions that we make are financial. But in this case, the principal of the elementary school, for me, is telling us that she doesn't think that her school can support school choice at this time. That means a lot to me. I know it's difficult.
You have to understand, though, a financial decision works its way through an educational system to have educational impacts. So the more money we have, the more resources we can give these folks to teach. So it's not as simple as saying it's a financial decision versus an educational decision. It's not that simple.
Kristen, if I could ask you, if we went this route that we may or may not go, there's not going to be a sudden drop-off in the cash from school choice because all the students that are there right now are going to be there next year. It'll just be the difference between who graduates senior year right now and who's coming in kindergarten, correct?
Yes.
So it wouldn't be a huge drop-off, but to Jeff's point, it would not be those additional, whatever it might be, 20 kids, 30 kids, which then becomes, not an insignificant amount of money.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're currently only talking about the elementary school.
Right now, yes. Yep.
Dr. DeAndrea said it can be broken down
Yes.
per
Yep.
school, and this does get revoted annually, correct?
Correct. So let's look to the middle school then, and
The school choice for the middle school, 5, 6, and 7.
you're good with it? So like, in terms of like a cap or numbers, what do you think?
I mean, I would say a cap would be 10 per grade level. I don't usually get that, but
Okay.
we have the space. We have a policy in place that I believe, Mr. Palladino asked for a cutoff date. Was it October 15th?
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
that was Mr. Bajoli's idea, as a
Was
matter of fact.
it?
I did want a cutoff date, but I think Mr. Bajoli said
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, the cutoff date of October 15th seems to really work. It's been maybe a couple of years with that.
If it works, that was my idea.
All right, I thought it was Scott, but it's you. So brilliant idea. And October 15th, really, it's just, we haven't had an issue at the middle school. There is room. I can't imagine that it's going to be more than 10 per grade level. But I think that's a reasonable amount. We haven't had that many, but I do think we could do that.
Okay, question, Joyce?
So on this report, it tells us that if there was a request and that request was denied. So thank you to the person who created this report, because I'm not sure we've ever seen that before. So there were no denials in the middle school, according to this report. How many requests did you have? How many new?
No idea. 0 this year. A lot of our school choice have come up throughout the elementary school. I think the year before, I don't know, I can't, the years blend, but when they come across my desk, it's usually a yes. Sometimes it's students that we currently have that have moved, to ORR or Plymouth, and the parents want them to stay, and they fill out the school choice.
So that still counts as school choice, though,
It
because
is
they've
school
moved,
choice,
right?
yep, because they can choose to stay.
Okay.
So that's great. I like the option of it.
I was just
Okay.
curious, because there were denials at the middle school and the high school and elementary, but not at the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
thank you.
Any questions for Tracy? Okay. Mr. Palladino?
So I do like the cutoff date, because what I've found is that students are, at the high school level, again, I'm just speaking for the high school level, are oftentimes trying to get a reset or trying to avoid attendance, grades, discipline issues. It hasn't been a great option for the high school. We have two really great school choice kids that obviously have been here for quite some time, and then we have a bunch that are a lot of work. So I really, as you probably can see, Joyce, I've denied a lot of them because it hasn't been great for us. There's two that are great, and there's probably 20 that aren't. And I don't think I've approved a school choice student in probably almost 2 years. And the other reason for not approving school choice students is because I just don't have enough teachers to teach the sections that we need. I have a ton of students taking online courses in 3 periods where I can't find a class for a student. So it's very difficult to schedule students. So I feel like I have an obligation to the taxpayers of Wareham to take those kids on, and I really can't take extra students from other schools on, specifically because it's often a ton of work, a lot of headache, poor attendance, poor grades, poor discipline. You don't live in town, it's tough to get to town. I have 2 that are great, and I hold them to high esteem, but other than that, it's really been a lot of work, and it's been troublesome.
But just to be clear, when you say deny, you don't mean that you looked at someone's attendance record or discipline record and
can't do
said, no. You mean there was not a slot available?
As soon as I get the form, I know what I have in this class, and I can't take them on.
Okay.
I don't even.
Right.
I don't know who they are. They fill out the application, and as soon as it comes to me, I send it to Jamie and deny it. I don't get into the weeds because I don't have space.
April?
So I know you and I have had this conversation before about my one biggest concern with school choice at the high school is that we have the IB program. And part of that was to be a draw in the region to bring students into the district to benefit from this program. And I know that, like with the dual enrollment, some of those students are off campus for half of the day. They're at Bridgewater State. So I know it's a struggle for you guys to fill in the class spaces and with certain subjects and things like that, and certain electives where everyone wants this one because it's cool, and then you have 3 that are getting stuck in something they don't want,
Right.
which I understand. But it's hard for me because of IB and AP, and like the fact that the whole purpose, when I even first started on the school committee and when all of this was being talked about when it was first instituted, even before I was on the school committee, was like with the PTA, was how this was going to bring people into the district, especially because we do lose kids probably more in the high school. I think the school choice numbers for kids in middle and high school leaving the district are higher than they are in the elementary. So we start to lose kids to Bourne, ORR, Carver, like districts that we shouldn't be losing kids to in the middle and in the high school. So for me, I get your issue, and I know we've had this conversation when you've come in with the classroom stuff. For me, not having it as an option for the high school is a hard pill to swallow when the whole purpose of us kind of having these incredible opportunities was to increase enrollment at the high school. So it's just like, I feel like it's a shame that there isn't obviously enough budget, that we don't have like unlimited funds, because obviously then none of this would be even up for discussion, or a bigger building or more people or whatever the case may be. But it's just, even with some of the work we've had Dr. DeAndrea looking at and trying to get kids to stay in the district, if you're already worried about numbers, like with our own kids, like it is, I understand the challenge, but then we wanted that whole thing to bring people in, and now we're saying we can't. So it's just like, what was it all for?
I think if I was bringing in kids for IB, I wouldn't be opposed to the policy. The reality is, I believe in the last 8 years, I've had 2 students, school choice, take IB courses. And when I look at the withdrawals of students that are leaving the high school, I don't really see a lot of kids going to Rochester and Bourne via school choice. I see kids going to Rising Tide, I see kids going to Sturgis, I see kids going to Upper Cape. I don't think in the middle school or high school, you have a lot of kids that are exiting to go to school choice to Bourne and over Rochester.
Well, just the out numbers, the data we had,
They may be
those
in that
schools,
grade
those
of a high
town
school.
numbers, like, were the highest of all the towns. That's why I said combined, like middle.
They
and
may
high
be in high school grades, but they have left far before they were in middle school and high school. So, you know, if the students were coming in school choice were taking IB, and that's what we were hoping for, but the reality is that's not what happened. And trust me when I tell you, you know, the school choice kids we allowed in the past, for every, you know, maybe one student taking advanced level courses, we've got 9 that aren't, and many of them are requiring a lot of support services in place, and it's tough. The October 15th date has really helped us out quite a bit, because then, you know, if you're getting a kid who's applying for school choice over the summer and you have room, it's allowed, you know, they're pretty serious in their application. When you're getting application, I got a call like last week, a parent wanted to know if I would accept a school choice senior, and I'm like, no. October 15th is the deadline. We don't accept anyone else. Like, so, you know, they've already been told their school, they're not graduating. So now they're fishing for a school they can go to and hopefully get the Mea Culpa and be allowed to graduate. It's you know, they're trying to kind of beat the system. So I would tell you that I will, you know, based on the numbers and the openings we have, I would probably lean towards continuing to deny them. That would be my recommendation to the superintendent when I get an application. And, you know, if there's an opportunity down the road for an opening, that would, for, you know, if we have we do have an 8th grade class coming in that's very small. If I was to, down the road, get some 9th graders that are looking to come in when that class rises up to the 9th grade, I'd certainly entertain that conversation then. But for right now, for next year, I'm at a point where I just don't have room to put students based on the schedule.
Mr. Sweat?
These demographers are projecting you'll have, for the school year 28-29, 474 kids, 8 through 13. And the out years, which they acknowledge are not nearly as accurate, 33, 34, they're projecting 337 kids.
I hope to be alive in 33, 34.
Understood. But you have tremendous fixed costs.
Yes.
High schools are, for good
Expensive.
reason, more expensive.
Correct.
And every time you lose a student or don't take a student, it really is hurting your ability for us to give you the resources you need to teach those kids. So those demographic projections are scary.
Yeah, with all the building going on in town, I'd be
They
surprised.
take that into account.
I know they do. I saw the building permits, but
Yeah.
I see what I see, and I see where the kids are coming in from.
From a planning perspective, since it was Mr. Brajoli's brilliant idea, I don't have any problem with the deadline, okay? But to not take a kid who seriously, and I'm not talking about the kid who's about to flunk out of another school, and the example you just gave us, but to not take a kid who applies to us in the summertime in good faith, I just think is a mistake.
I've got a great,
Plus, you've got a night school, which is filled with school choice.
I think what would be relevant to this conversation is to really dissect the school choice students that we have. Take a look at their attendance, take a look at their grades, take a look at the discipline, and then tell me that you want to support school choice. And I'm just speaking for the high school.
I get that, but you don't know that before you make the decision, yes or
Correct,
no.
but I know it after the fact when I'm mailing out letters and I'm having meetings with parents, and I'm saying, oh, another school choice kid. But I think that would be a real valid study. I think it would change your perception of school choice. And I would guess it would be the same at the middle school, if, you know, for whatever school choice students they have.
So for that small percentage, you're saying that like the disciplinary action is completely higher than the in-town students' disciplinary actions?
On average, of course, because obviously the school choice is a very small percentage of the population.
Joyce?
So, April, you're right. So back when IB started, that was part of one of the objectives of IB, but there's been a lot of discussion about IB lately, so we know that just from our own high school, there are 19 students at Sturgis. So they do have options even for IB. So unfortunately, that piece of, IB that we hoped for at the beginning maybe hasn't worked out the way that we had hoped. As far as the projections go, you talk about building permits, but we're not talking about building permits for apartment buildings, where 100 kids could move in, but we just don't know, right? And we won't know until they
I'm
come
not an
to school,
advocate
but-
for NASDAQ, believe me.
Right, well, I love to see the study, but then I'm not sure I'm 100% on board, yeah. So I have a question though about, I thought it was just high school, but it's not, it's all grades. So the virtual schools, that's a different vote, but the amount, so we are charged, is it 9,000?
Almost 10 grand.
Yes,
Yeah,
per
yes, we are.
student.
Yes,
So we
that's
only
correct.
get 5,000 for if we receive a student from Bourne, but we have to pay almost 10,000 for our student to go to a virtual school.
That's correct, and the charter schools are even more.
We didn't select that fee. They tell us
Oh,
that.
no, I know.
Don't
I'm
forget
just
the
pointing out the inequity there, it's just, right?
Don't forget
Am
the
I wrong?
$75 for administration.
Right, it's just crazy. So-
Regarding the PASS program, because we realize that is primarily, there's a lot of school choice in the PASS program. Would that fall under the auspices of the high school still, in terms of would have to accept school choice at the high school for the PASS program, or is that its own separate entity?
School.
It's got its own.
That would be a separate,
Separate vote for pass.
for PASS, okay.
So one
Okay.
last question for
But sure.
Scott. Would you, I think that Tracy and Bethany were very direct, so what is your recommendation for school choice for the high school?
Wow. That's a school committee decision.
I know, I'm just asking for your recommendation.
It's basically hasn't been an option because I haven't been able to sign off on any of them, and you have the dates, so I'm sure I'm pretty close with 2 years, I think, on the school choice end. The current policy has worked for me because I just haven't been able to accept anyone. I do like the deadline of October 15th to avoid those scenarios that I described, but,
But it looks like we're gonna vote by school.
Right.
So if we're gonna vote by school,
I think it would be a lot easier for the high school if we weren't school choice at this point. But obviously, I know it's a year-to-year decision, but
I was gonna
certainly.
say, again, it's only 1 year.
Yeah, certainly, I would like to continue to have the conversation every year because, again, I have a very small group of students coming in next year in 8th grade. And I have a feeling that once they figure out, who's staying, who's going, we will probably have room in that soon-to-be 9th grade class in another year that I would say, at that point, we could open up school choice for that grade, at the very least.
Brennan?
I'm a little confused by something, and when we talk about students who are in Wareham who are leaving the district and going to other schools, in my opinion, even part of Dr. DeAndrea's goals is to try to see what we can do to get those students to stay here, because we're letting some of our, best and brightest talents go to the other districts for whatever reason. So it seems like when students choose to leave Wareham, it's because of a good opportunity, and they're a good student that we want to keep back. But from what you're saying, it sounds like every student that's choosing to come to Wareham is
Not
a
every.
discipline problem. And
No.
am I getting that
Well,
right?
no, because I don't have that information when they apply.
But I'm not
But I
saying
will
that
tell
you know
you
what
that
apply, but I'm saying
students that
as
we-
a result, it seems that the students that we did accept in that time are less desirable.
All kids are desirable, but I will tell you that
You know what I mean.
it's disproportionate with the students that are residents in town. The discipline, the attendance, the grades, low grades, are disproportionate when you look at the students that are school choice compared to students that are living in town and a
Why
taxpayer.
do you think those students are choosing Wareham?
A lot of times, what we found is that they have daycare when I say daycare, I don't mean a facility, like they have a grandparent that they can go to after school, so they choose school choice for that. Parents work in town, so it's easier for them to drive the kid in here than to wait for a bus that's gonna leave, probably after they have to leave for work. Those seem to be some of the reasons. The other ones are, again, they've burnt their bridges at the previous school and they want to reset, but those behaviors follow them. So,
Well, and why are they leaving? I mean, like, why do we have, it just seems to me
Perception
such a.
is the reason people leave.
Yeah, I mean, that seems just kind of a disconnect for me, that I'm seeing that, like, we don't want any of our kids to leave. Yeah, I see 262 kids are using student choice. I want every single one of them back in Wareham. I really
More
do.
kids, more programs.
But it seems like, and I would think school choice, hearing tonight, I learned a little bit, because I'm thinking, when I see especially what we spend to send these kids out, or, that we have to spend for these kids to leave, I want as many students coming in as possible to offset that. I didn't realize we only get $5,000. I thought, I saw we have to spend $30,000 to send one kid to a tech school. I thought maybe we get $30,000 back.
But remember,
or something. But if we don't, I don't know. It just seems like I want good kids in Wareham. Whether they come from Wareham or not, I want to make the best Viking community we can from K through 13. And I know you guys do too. I do. I think we all get that sense that we want the best students that we can get, and we want to make the best students that we can. And just hearing that, it seems like we're at the short end of the stick on school choice.
That's why a lot of schools don't have school choice, because they know what could come in. But I think you got to remember, though, for all these kids we bring back, it's not gravy. There's still a cost. If we bring back 20 kids in 9th grade, I need X number of teachers.
Yeah, no.
So it's not like a windfall. But like I said,
we're not spending that money out. The money can come to you. So maybe the hope is at least that if people decide to stay in Wareham, their tax dollars are staying in the community and can go towards.
Right.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the theory, I know. But
Oh, it's a good theory.
Brendan, just to be clear, that if a Wareham student goes to Bourne and wants to come back, that's not school choice?
Yeah,
They
no,
just
no,
come back, okay.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that, but I mean, again, if a student who is, a Wareham student who's decided to go to Bourne, we have to pay Bourne for that. And if they stay here, we can keep that money. So that's a good thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I would also hope that if a student in Bourne wants to come to Wareham, that's good for us as well. And it kind of seems like it's a mixed bag.
I agree with you. Our goal is we need to keep them here, right?
And if they're committed to
Yeah.
driving to a school, 10, 20, 30 minutes away,
Yeah.
those are pretty committed students and parents, and you want to keep those kids. They're driven.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
That's the
saying,
goal,
though.
yeah.
It just seems a disconnect to hear that, like, we have these kids that are so willing leaving, but the ones that we're getting are, well, okay,
And there's a lot of neighboring towns that don't have school choice for that very reason.
Really? Okay. And again, this is my first time dealing with it, so I'm not aware of it, and it's kind of surprising to hear.
Jeff?
So you don't have any school choice kids at the moment in the regular high school, correct?
I don't have any new school choice.
When was the last time you took a,
Joyce, do you have the number?
2022.
Thank you, Joyce.
okay.
Don't ask me what I did yesterday, but I know.
I appreciate that. I was thinking it was 2 years ago.
So how many total school choice kids do you have at the moment?
I'd have to get you that information.
13, yeah.
Thank you.
And Tracy, how many do you have? What's your experience from a behavior? Basically, I'm sitting here arguing with myself. And the reason is because I know that we lose kids to other schools because of the behavior that occurs within our schools, and their parents want to escape that behavior.
I don't have as much of an experience as the high school. I wouldn't say that. I would say that the majority of those 7 students are lovely students. Sometimes I don't even know who the students are because they were accepted as school choice at the elementary school. I have had a scenario where a couple of school choice students in the past have been in a particular program, and that is not cost effective, right? So if they're in a program that is a small group, but you can't predict that. I would say my experience has been better with my school choice kids.
And it is, and now I'm directing this to Dr. DeAndrea, it is accurate to say that if Tracy has a school choice kid, and they leave 7th grade, the high school doesn't have the ability to say,
They
sorry.
can't- No, once
they're in, they're in.
Once they're in,
Once
they're in.
they're in.
Once they're accepted, they're in. So most of the time, I believe, the students have been accepted at some point. I think in elementary school, some of the similar things happen. They did live in Wareham. they move to New Bedford, they have asked for school choice. We've accepted that, and then
I've noticed we get some New Bedford kids back.
Yeah, so I think that's what's happened mostly. I mean, other than that, I've accepted some school choice here and there, but
I think the way I'm leaning is I would really like to have school choice in the elementary and the middle school, and defer to Mr. Palladino with respect to a kid who hasn't come up through the ranks
yeah.
and learned what we expect from an educational environment, then maybe that's, I hate to use this term, but maybe they are being dumped on Wareham Public Schools, and I don't like being a dumping ground.
Not that, yeah.
And so that, but I don't believe that an elementary school and perhaps a middle school, especially based on your experience, is likely to be that kind of situation. But I'm still mulling it over in my
I
head.
think if you dissected the data, I think what you'd find is, and I don't want to counter what Bethany's saying, but I think what you'll find is the kids that are entrenched in the community and in the school that have been with us for a long period of time would not fall into that category that I previously described. I think the ones that we have trouble with are the ones that are bouncing in very late in their school career.
I heard you.
But I'm confident that that data would show that, you know, the kids that started in elementary are very
I
successful.
believe you.
Yeah.
April?
So just to play devil's advocate here, you have these kids that were quote unquote trying to be dumped on our community. I'll just use
That was Jeff's term, not
terminology.
mine.
No, I know, I'll use that term because it seems fitting. But that could also, hypothetically, if people are choosing this town, maybe they're aware of the work that we're doing and hear about the social emotional promotion that they may not have gotten in other districts, or the support services that we have in place that they may not have had available to them in other districts, and they see what an amazing district like we all see we are, and we're losing an opportunity to possibly change the trajectory of a kid's life that wasn't getting the supports that they needed in whatever district they were coming from. When they see that we have them and we have outside, maybe outside of our own town may have a better reputation than we actually have, and they see this as a place for a second chance, not necessarily because they were a disciplinary problem, but they see opportunity to be better because our students have such a great reputation. So if you look at it from that perspective, we're denying these kids a chance at an education that only a Wareham student could get, because we do have amazing teachers and staff and programs and supports. So like, I look at it from that perspective too, like it's a mixed bag for me. So I'm of the thing where if we have the space, because that's how it's always been, we can't accept if we don't have space, but we have the ability to accept if we do. And I would rather just keep it open to the possibility for any kid to have a chance at a better education through our school system, because my kid came through the school system and I couldn't have been more proud. So I think that we should, at any grade level, if the space is there, be able to accept school choice.
And as the Wareham Elementary School principal, I just want to make it very clear. I'm a proponent of school choice. There's many families that I've adopted into school choice that it's worked for us and done very well, just as Ms. Cote said. I simply said there's not a space. So and due to our LEA budget, I'm extremely concerned that we won't have the money to support incoming school choice students.
Well,
So that's where I'm at.
I mean, I just look at the class sizes right now. In theory, your lowest class sizes should be in the elementary grades, I think.
Yes. And it's
And it
not.
doesn't appear that that might be the case
We're
right now.
Opposite, right, yes.
Right.
I'm
So I'm
averaging
worried about,
21.
my worry is about adding to that at the expense of Wareham students, increasing ratio. Look, then I see $100,000 in the 13 and 7 students that are in the middle school and high school right now. So it's all a balance and values that we're trying to figure out here. So it is complicated, but I do want to, we want to hear what you guys had to say. That's why we kept you here. So we have to take that into our consideration.
So could we vote by school?
We can.
You can vote by school. And remember, if you were to vote that all can accept, of course, they don't have, I mean, Bethany can watch her numbers, and if something happens where one grade level drops or kindergarten doesn't come in, then she could consider. It doesn't mean because you voted that we're going to accept them at every school that we have to accept them at every school. It just means that the option is available. Right.
But it means once you deny one at any school, you have to deny every other student that applies.
By grade level.
By grade level.
Shut off. That's correct.
And I'd also like to
Okay.
say, since it's kindergarten registration week, I do have 3 school choice applications on the side. I will not be able to accept the school choice applications until we look at the number of enrollment in August.
Just a quick
Jeff.
question. By the way, April, I love your idealism, but the question I have is the decision as to whether there's, quote, enough room, okay? It's not really an objective decision, isn't it? It is the subjective decision of the principal. I'm not denying you your right to do it, but one person's definition of enough room is not necessarily another person's definition of enough room. So what we're really doing, and your point is well taken, even if we vote, everybody takes school choice students. These guys have the discretion to decide as an individual principal at any moment in time whether they have enough room.
Right, and enough
we have
room,
done that.
But it also is it's numbers and need. It's numbers and need.
What's need mean?
It means that, you know, as a teacher, you could have a classroom of 25 students that are not high needs kids.
Oh, that's what you mean. I get
Right,
it.
or you could have a class of 15 and you're like, I really
You're pulling your
can't-
hair out. I get it.
It is true.
Yeah, I understand. So in that sense, you know, if we can both be the idealistic April and the pragmatic Jeff, because I don't want to indict anybody else with that terrible word, okay? And vote for everybody to have school choice, knowing that we've got principals who can make an on-the-spot decision at any moment in time what's best for their school.
Which is what we've been doing anyway.
Right.
Yes.
So it's status quo, if it
Essentially.
ain't broke.
I'll fix it.
Well, the real issue, of course, is we want to have kids stop leaving, but that's another
Yeah.
story.
True that.
And to touch to that to 2 seconds, I was having a conversation with a client of another stylist in my salon who was asking questions about school choicing their kid. And I jumped in to the conversation. Hi, you don't know me, but can I ask why you're thinking about school choicing before high school or whatever the case may be? And I told them, I was like, did you know this, that, in the high school, the IB, the dual enrollment, all of the programs, the stuff that you're doing with the middle school? And they were like, we didn't know the schools offered any of these things. How do parents get this information? It's on the website. We send out surveys. We send out emails. It's in the newspaper. It's on WCTV.
Facebook.
It's on Facebook. And it's like, they were like just talking to you for 2 minutes. I had no idea that any of these things existed. So, and I asked, I said, how would you like to receive information? What would be the best way for you to be engaged with this? And nobody has an answer. So it's like as many great things as we have to keep people in that they don't know about, unless people are literally having face-to-face conversations about the district and being excited about it. I get 9 million emails a day and I scroll right past them. Facebook, nobody pays attention to anything anymore unless there's a picture of a puppy. Like, or a video, or somebody wants to complain about something negative. Nobody, everyone's just mindlessly scrolling. It's become background noise. So unless people are having those face-to-face conversations, nobody's gonna know like what we have to offer to be able to keep people in. So I think we just need to keep talking and have the conversations anywhere. Talk to a lamppost, make it out loud, I don't know. But just it was really sad for me to hear a family that had kids in the district was thinking about going because they were basing it again off old information and not on where we currently are, so.
Dr. DeAndrea, can I ask, do you still stand by your recommendation, which is that we should accept school choice, but now the committee is under we now have this new knowledge that principals can decide, based on their situation at their grade level, whether or not to accept anyone
Yes, sir.
in school choice.
And once they decide by grade, that's it.
Correct.
A denial is a denial for the whole grade.
So do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Any more discussion?
I think we've discussed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? 4-1 in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying.
Thanks for moving us up.
Okay, so
Then it's
we
the
covered registration of kindergarten and principal reports.
There's that other vote for the 1% for the.
So the
Yeah, so we are on student attending report.
So in your packet, you received a tremendous amount of information about student attending.
You think?
Yes.
So thank you to Jamie for all the work. This takes a tremendous amount of work, getting the information from other districts, putting it together, crunching all the numbers, making sure they all, calculate correctly. So thank you to her for all the work that she did to do this. So you have a number of different documents. The school attending children, just kind of the blank, the non-colorful one, I should say. That kind of is the overview of all the grades, the number of students attending Wareham Public Schools, and then it has vocational school, collaboratives, charter schools, out of district, and goes right across the columns, and a number of students in each grade, and for a total of 2,695 Wareham students, which 1,863 attend the public schools in which we oversee. So that's that kind of overview document. The long document with the yellow going across, this breaks it down of school choice students in each school. Okay, so this is there was a lot of questions about this. How many school choice students in each school? How many new ones this year? So you can see how those new ones have the asterisk. And so there's 17 at the elementary, 7 at the middle, 13 at the high school. Past program has had a nice uptick in numbers, so they're up to 11 for this year. And so we have a total of 47 school choice students in the district at this time. The landscape document, this one here, this is where our school choice students who are leaving, where they are attending. So it just breaks it down by the schools in which they're, the public schools in which they're going, the total number, and across the grade levels. So you can see that we have 262 total that are going out of the district. And down the bottom, on those two rows, we have the virtual schools, which we'll be voting, I'll be asking you to vote anyway in a minute. And you can see that we have 17 students that attend the two virtual schools, the Greater Commonwealth virtual in Greenfield and the TECA virtual. And I just wanted to point out that 18 students would be 1% of our population, and that's that's what we vote around when I'll be asking you to vote in a minute.
So we're saying that would be our cap then
That would
at
be the
18,
cap,
so we,
right.
okay.
And you can see that we have, there are 2 grade 12 students at the Greater Commonwealth and 3 at the TECA. So we're going to be graduating out 5 students So that's going to open up some spots if anybody needs them. And then finally, the very long document, this breaks it out. This gives you everything you wanted to know
Quick
and
question on
more.
the prior document.
One more question first, Dr. DeAndrea.
So quick math, 17 kids times, call it 10,000. So is that literally 170,000 out? Or do we also get some reimbursement because they are still our kids? Or is it literally 170,000 out?
We don't see that. That's, I think, goes through the town, so that's nothing that we pay out.
I don't see it on the cherry sheet. Where would it be?
Would it be reduced out of chapter 7? Well, no, it wouldn't be reduced out of chapter 70 because we got the bare minimum this time.
No.
It's not part of charter school.
I think I'd see $170,000 somewhere.
That's a good question. I can find that out for you. I don't know the answer right now.
I'd appreciate just for my own edification.
Yeah, that's a good
knowing.
question.
Thank you.
And then this larger document, this breaks it down by vocational, the number and grade at the vocationals, charter, school choice out, collaboratives, private schools, home schools, virtual school. This has all of those for a total of 844 residents of Wareham that do not attend the Wareham Public Schools.
Jeff, go ahead.
A quick question and then a comment. On the very bottom, it's got 844, 844, and then 884.
Yeah,
Is that a typo?
That's a typo, yes, should be 844.
No problem, you know.
I was gonna say, all those beautiful documents.
I was about to say, given all these documents and I only found one typo, so you deserve congratulations and then some. So my more important comment is this. If we took all 844 students and added them to our current population, we'd have about, I don't know, 2,700, something like that, okay? We'd still be 800 students away from where we were in the early 2000s, which was 3,500 plus. So yes, we're not keeping all the kids we would like, but the kids literally don't exist.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that in mind. And that's one of our struggles is 3,500 kids, that covers a lot of fixed costs. And those fixed costs we're now trying to cover with 1,900 kids.
And that's an issue right down the Cape.
Yeah, it's a huge issue in Western Mass.
Yeah.
It's a major issue across the Commonwealth. And by the way, the demographers, are talking about, a loss of kids all over the country. I mean, if you saw the executive summary, the Northeast and the Midwest, I don't know, the Northeast was losing about 6% over the course of the time that they had been looking. The South was less, I think. Anyway, the bottom line is all over the country, we're seeing the graying of America and the aging of America.
People were waiting later to have children too, so that's why these kindergarten and lower grade numbers are significantly higher, because people were waiting
Absolutely.
a little bit, probably about a good decade later to have children because they wanted
they're
to
having
work or
fewer.
travel, and they're having less. I have one, and I had him younger.
Shame on you.
Than I know. I'd be okay in some countries, but I was, I was the first of my group of friends, all waited until they were done with, I had my kid young, and they had, not that I was young, but mid-20s, and they all waited until after grad school, after they got married, after they bought houses, and they were in their early 30s. So Dylan is a full-grown adult, while people I went to high school with have kids in elementary school. I don't have the energy for that, so I'm thankful, but you see that more demographically. There's a lot older population of parents having younger children. So I think that shift is going to happen. We're just not seeing it yet because they're now enrolling in some of the schools.
It's a significant impact in terms of the cost per student.
So, Joyce?
Sorry, So, again, Jamie, these reports are amazing. I just have a question, and is there any report, I thought I saw one before, that shows when the students left? Do we know that? I mean, I thought I saw one before, like a year or 2 or 3 ago. I'm not saying, is that something? You don't have that, okay.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah, it was probably on a different subject,
Maybe.
or maybe it had something to do, Matt, with your survey that you did, when you first came in, and we were talking about keeping kids in Wareham.
That would be interesting. You can infer, but you can't know.
Yeah, it's interesting what Scott said, that kids leave before, so we're just, and then my other question is about the Commonwealth of Mass virtual school. So, are we mandated to do that? Do we have to do that?
Vote?
No. Vote, yeah, I mean, what if we voted no? I'm just curious, what if we voted no and said, no, we were, so.
So we would be, so we're voting to not exceed the 1%.
Oh, we're not voting to approve it. It's a thing.
Right, if we didn't vote not to exceed the 1%, then we could go over it. We could have.
Oh, okay.
Right, they're trying, because it's $10,000 a student, that they're allowing you to cap it.
Oh, okay.
Right, you're asking, can we say no to virtual school altogether?
I want to.
Right.
You can't cap it at 0.
You can't cap it at 0, no.
Okay. And has the number
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
been restrictive? I know you've only been here a couple of years, so I'm just wondering, have we ever had to deny people? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, not in my.
Not since you've been here, okay. All right.
So do I have a motion to accept the 1% threshold for the CMVS?
Seconded.
Just a quick question. Is this all high school?
No.
5th grade, I
These
think is the
virtual
youngest
start
one
at
I
5th
saw.
grade?
I thought there was, yeah. It was just high school, it's not.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. We've already done school choice.
Does the motion need to say 1%?
I think I said that in the motion.
Yeah.
It did? Okay, good, thanks.
All right, superintendent's report?
Okay, in the superintendent's newsletter, first of all, there is a gift from Home Depot in Wareham. Some plywood, some 2x4s, 4 casters, paint, an empty refrigerator box for the middle
Valuable.
school drama club for the production of Willy Wonka. Thank you to Home Depot, and I ask that you accept that gift.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you, Home Depot.
Thank you. And also, there's a listing of the bill and payroll warrants. I ask for you to vote to accept
So
those.
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Okay, and I would just want to give you an update on the budget, FY25 budget. And I have a PowerPoint to do that, and I also have it, a hard copy of it for those who like to have a hard copy of it. So.
I'm sure I dream about this.
So this is a variation, or includes many of the slides that were presented at the budget public hearing. And so you may recognize some of these slides. This is just a reminder of what the FY25 budget was $36,965,788. And due to contractual obligations and increasing costs, down that left column or the center column, you can see salary increases, steps and lanes and COLAs that we have agreed on contractually adds 1.5 million. New Chromebooks, heat and utilities, out-of-district transportation, all of these fixed costs need to be added on to that 36 million for FY25, which equal $2,375,661. And when we add that to the FY '25 budget, it's $39,341,449. That would be for a level service budget. In other words, if we're doing exactly next year what we're doing this year, it would cost $2.3 million more.
But in reality, it's going to be more because of the if anything's negotiated above.
That's correct. That's correct.
So whatever we
still
do in
have
negotiations will also impact that.
Will also impact that.
Okay.
We're also able to reduce those numbers, if you could go to the next slide, by the offsets that we receive. And I can see that Kristen is working that, and it's not changed. So we have a number of offsets, revenue sources from the state that we're able to use that reduce that number. And there, that's not it. There it is. All right. The two columns on the left are FY '24. And you can see right down, the far left column is the revenue source, such as the 240 grant, circuit breaker, school nutrition, and how much we're able to offset from those sources. And you go down right, that second to the left column, and you can see in that number in red is the total number of revenue offsets that we're able to use to reduce that number, reduce that 36 million. So for this year, the FY '24 budget, we had almost $3.5 million that we're able to use to reduce the school budget. Going to the right there, you can see the FY '25 and the revenue sources that we have. And you can see when you go down that column on the far right, the number in red is $2.3 million. So you can see that we actually are losing a little bit over $1 million in offsets that we have to make up also. So that adds to that $2.5 million additional that we had for FY '25. So the next slide shows you that the FY '25 is $36,950,056 for a level service budget. FY '24, $33,510,000, and the difference is almost $3.5 million. That's the 10.26% increase, and this is what we talked about at the budget hearing. That's a huge number, a huge increase for FY '25. So what does that mean? That means that, well, we're going to have to make some cuts. The $36 million, the $3.5 million, 10.26% increase, level service, that would mean zero in cuts. The town can't support a 10.26% increase. The number that you guys voted the last time that we had the budget hearing, or I think it was the meeting after, voted a $35,765,553 budget, or an increase of $2.2 million, which was 6.73. And that would have meant we would have had to cut 1.1 or almost $1.2 million from the budget. The town has told us at this time they can only support us with $1 million. The Chapter 70 money that we received from the state was $67,000. That's $30 a student. That's the bare minimum that they have to give us, which was very disappointing. So that means that we would have to come in with a $34,510,309 budget, which is $1 million increase, which is 2.98%, which means we have to cut almost $2.5 million. So how are we gonna do that? How are we gonna cut the $2.5 million? Well, we do have 21 retirements, which is going to be helpful. And the administrative team sat down and looked at these positions very closely. We're always looking how much the position impacts the education of the students. And some of them, we decided we really need that position. If we don't have it, it's gonna really increase class sizes or decrease services that we really need, so we need to keep them. We decided that 6 we're not gonna replace. That's gonna save us $418,000. 14 we do need to replace. However, we'll be able to hire the individual at a lower step, and we'll be able to save money. We anticipate that'll save us about $254,000. We had an individual this year that resigned, and we're not replacing that position. That's gonna save us $66,000. And we had an individual that transferred from one position to another, and the position in which she transferred out of, we're not going to replace. That's gonna save us $108,000. So all said and done, that'll save us approximately $848,171.
Approximately.
Approximately. And we say that, I say that because that 254 is,
You never know.
you never know. Never know. We're anticipating a savings. There will be a savings, it's just nailing down exactly how much that savings will be is a little tricky. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that we have the $2.5 million that we have to cut. We're gonna save $848,000 from retirements. We have looked at, Kristen has looked at the offsets very closely as they've been coming in, the revenues, I should say, as they've been coming in, school nutrition, transportation, circuit breaker, SOA, and she believes that we can probably add about $270,000 to our offsets. So that decreases our budget shortfall to $1,321,576.
What's the transportation revenue?
That's the Michigan reimbursement.
Got it, thank you.
So $1,321,576. So we sat down, the administrative team sat down and really looked at things, and we identified 15 positions that we would have to cut. Technology, Bonnie LaSorsa looked really closely. She's done a lot of work on the Chromebooks and has learned that instead of purchasing the Chromebooks, we could lease them, and that's going to save us some money, probably about $140,000 to $150,000. And she also was able to find some other savings through software and things like that got that up to $186,000 in savings. Utilities, that's based on usage. We can probably cut that $50,000. Scott's been looking at athletics and has found about $54,000 where he thinks he can make some cuts. Supply lines, we're always looking at supplies, and you get to the point where you can't cut supplies anymore, but based on previous usage and what we anticipate we might need, we think that we can probably reduce that by $35,000. And out-of-district transportation, this is a moving target. We have students that come back to the districts. We have students that go out of the district, but we had one student that came back and another one going out, but the net result was a savings of $30,000. So that is a savings of a total of $1,304,661, where we still need to cut another $16,915. We're going to continue looking for savings. It's a day-to-day thing. But that's where we are with the budget right now. And on top of that is we are still in negotiations with Unit A, B, and D, and that probably is going to add some money to this that we're going to have to contend with. But we are working vigilantly to try to look for every area in which we can find money and really minimize the impact on the education of the kids.
Do the cuts on the 15 positions also, does that total reflect unemployment benefits that we'd have to pay on those 15 positions?
Does not.
So then that would be less savings, correct?
That's the town.
No, the town.
That's
town
the
does
town?
But
Okay,
they're saving a ton on health insurance.
correct. Okay, so that's a wash. So this,
Better than a
if we had to go and vote on this, which we're not going to vote tonight, but if we had to vote on this budget as is, well, I mean, to the 2.98% with a cut of 2.4 million, has there been a time when we've cut close to 2.4 million out of the budget in ever? I just wonder, I mean, this would be the first time we've made such cuts?
I mean, we've made cuts, I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We have, well, let's distinguish between eliminating positions
Mm-hmm.
and eliminating and actually laying off people who want to work here, okay? We used to have, I don't know, 220 some odd teachers, and we have about 170 teachers. So we have eliminated positions over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but some of that was retirements that they just didn't
I was
replace.
just gonna say
Absolutely,
that.
that's what I mean,
Yeah.
positions. But when you eliminate a position, you're having an impact on the school.
100%.
Is that 31 positions? Is that what that equals? 31?
It would be
Is it the 15 plus 16?
15 plus the 6.
6 that aren't being replaced.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's,
Resignation, so it's 7, right? Because that, and the
Right.
transfer.
oh, so it's 15 plus 6. Okay.
Or plus 2,
Right.
23. The transfer and the resignation are not being replaced.
Right.
So when they looked at, I'm concerned, like, if you're, the athletics, like, we have, like, bare bones, I feel like, as it is. What on earth could we possibly cut athletic-wise that would impact the budget that amount?
Scott was looking at, he had some out of JV programs, and he had some out of another piece. I think it was supplies.
Okay.
But your
Just get
point is well
garden
taken,
hose.
because if you eliminate an active JV program, you're less competitive when you're a varsity program.
Well, and the other thing too is in keeping kids in the district, if
Right.
kids were leaving to go play
Yeah.
sports,
Exactly.
we don't want to, that's a fine.
I'm hoping what that reflects is programs that don't have a JV program right now, but kept the JV coaches. I'm hoping that just, but I don't, that can't just be that.
I think you're right, I think that's most of the savings.
Okay, that would be different than,
Yeah, 100%.
than losing an
But
addition.
even like
existing
15
JV program.
positions, like, what
Right.
types of positions are we talking? Is this like administrative positions? Is this para positions? Is this teacher positions? Like, is it custodial?
It's across the board. So we tried not to hit any one particular category of position very hard. So each one of those that you said, yes, 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 they're all positions from those units. Again, trying to minimize the impact on students.
And I understand that you can't get blood from a stone. I understand everything with the town, but any of these things that you have shown that need to be cut is gonna affect the students, 100%. And when we start affecting the way that the school is, when people are already looking at things and we're trying to correct a negative lens, like, and come out of a shadow of a era that doesn't exist in the district anymore, this isn't gonna help us keep people here, which is gonna be a catch-22 with losing more funding and then the town not having it. It's just, I wish people could, and I know that they do, I'm not saying that they don't, but this is such an important part of the town's overall budget, and it just makes me really sad that we have to even
Consider it.
think about this.
But
Because
it's-
that's a huge number.
But it's not even done, because we're negotiating, and it's challenging. And so we've come in, this is where we are with what we can afford, and we have to cut. And it's not a happy time. So this is just the beginning.
What would happen if we didn't vote for these and we voted to what we originally voted? Like, what happens then? Just out of out of a question, because I don't know. If we say no, we can't do that.
Jeff will have the answer for that.
I can answer the question, but before I do, I will tell you, as recently as 2017, we had according to DESI, a student-teacher ratio of 13 to 1. We are now at the lowest point, as far back as I can go, which is 20 years, and I suspect there's nothing close to this. We're now at 11.3. So I don't know where these cuts will put us, okay? But I don't think it'll be as high as 13. So we're at 11.3 and we used to be at 13. So we used to have a lot more students per teacher as a percentage-wise. So that, I don't know if that makes you feel any better or not, but I will answer your question. So let's assume that we went and said, forget the $1 million, we need $2 million, okay? So by charter, that has to be put in front of town meeting, okay? But by charter, the first amendment to the budget is the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee undoubtedly, because that will create a $1 million imbalance in the budget. And so the Finance Committee, and we've been assured that this is exactly what would take place, will then say, no, we propose a different school budget, and they will take that $1 million away, and it will be back to $1 million. And then the town, theoretically, could go against the Finance Committee, but the town would not only be going against the Finance Committee, they'd be going against the Board of Selectmen, which is mostly a political act, because they don't have any power in this, and they'd be going against the town administrator, who has not so much power but credibility for a variety of reasons. So yes, but it would be an incredibly adversarial thing to do.
Well, that's where the town could save money, is that salary.
So I think it's important to say also, so Jeff and I are on the Budget Advisory Committee, so we meet with Kristen and Matt, who have done an enormous amount of work, like, into this, 5-page slide. So there's an enormous amount of work behind there. But we also met with the town administrator, the chair of the Finance Committee, the chair of the Selectmen, to talk about the budget. And I would call that meeting very collaborative, very upfront, you know. And we came out of there confident that the town was doing as much as they could, that they are supportive of the schools. I would never say that they're not. And this is where we're at.
The cherry sheets, by the way, if you look at the whole cherry sheet, well, actually, it's 2 sheets. It's not a good cherry sheet for the town, not just because schools only went up 67,000 or whatever it was, but overall, it was a negative $400,000. So for them to give us $1 million to support the schools that are not growing in terms of numbers, you have to give them a lot of credit. And I give the town administrator in particular a lot of credit for being, in all my years on the school committee, I think our town administrator for the last several years has been the most collaborative and supportive, not just in the annual budget, but also in the capital budget.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's important to note that not only is the funding from the town less, but this is the year we're losing the ESSER funding.
Right.
So that has a big impact on this budget. We knew it was coming. We knew it was an addition to the budget last year, and it's just not there this year.
So we put this as an agenda item tonight so the rest of the committee, all of us, the 3 of us who aren't on budget advisory, could have an understanding of what was happening. It gives us time to contemplate, think about it, and then when we go on to a future agenda item, when we have to vote, we'll have to make an informed vote at that time. So thank you, Kristen and Matt and Jamie, for all the work you've done to get that ready for us.
This, as you point out, this is not the end of the story.
Correct.
No.
Right, that's right.
Can I just make one more point? Can I go back to the page about the retirement vacancy savings? So we talked about the retirements would be helpful, but I'm sure we would all agree that we all saw that list of retirements this week in our packet, and I just thought to myself, the experience and the dedication on that
School
page.
nurse in the middle school.
Not only that,
It's just amazing.
first grade,
So I
kindergarten.
just want to acknowledge that,
Although I
yeah,
was excited to
the
see
loss
Miss
that is
Rosenfield's
to the
coming back.
district, it really is, yeah.
And we will acknowledge them individually also at the,
will,
in
we
June,
will.
but no, I understand what you're saying, so
Yeah,
thank you for
when
bringing that up.
You know, we're gonna save money, sure, but we, at the same time, we're losing those people.
Oh, I'm just now looking at that list. Oh.
97.
Some of them were like Dylan's teachers.
Yeah,
That's,
they're very.
All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, school committee report. I don't think we have any reports. Does anyone have anything from any of the subcommittees? Okay, any other business?
I do have one quick thing.
Sure.
This is a piece of happy news. You may remember us talking about the Parks Scholarship. So Dr. Jandria and Mr. Palladino have been working, and their current plan is to give 3, call it $12,000 scholarships, meaning if they do well in college, they'll get $3,000 a year for 4 years. That is a really nice addition to the scholarship night. They are putting a committee, by the way, it's going to be a STEM scholarship, and they're putting together a committee to evaluate applications. The application is now available, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing I talked to John Foster about, that would represent, when it rolled out, about $36,000 a year, every year that we would be handing out, which at 5+% interest is fine, but it's not fine for the long term if we want to keep it up. So I've been going back and forth as were you copied on this too, Kevin?
I was.
Yeah, as Kevin and Matt knows. The last question he asked me, and I'm hoping it's because it matters, is have you established an investment committee as part of the school committee responsibilities? I'm hoping what that means is that we can do something besides CDs with $700,000+, because that's not a great way to invest money with one-year CDs. So I'd like to put that on a subsequent agenda to establish the investment committee for the park scholarship money.
I nominate Jeff for that.
I'd be happy to participate. Most importantly, we want to get it done so John hopefully says, all right, you can buy some stocks, bonds, have some cash, et cetera, which is the way an endowment is typically managed.
Right, just 5% though is guaranteed, right?
Well, there's no guarantee, but let's put it this way. If you're investing for the long term and to project, let me be very specific. There are lots of pension funds that have made so many promises that they're making risky investments just to try to get the 7, 8, 9% they need to pay out the pensions, right? If we're just trying to get 5%, which is all we need for these 3 scholarships, that should be a slam dunk, but it's not going to be a slam dunk if we rely on CDs, because interest rates are coming. So anyway, I was longer than I wanted to be. Please put it on the agenda for the future.
I will, only if you handle my private portfolio as well.
Can I ask a
Thank you.
question, Jeff?
Yes.
Are you in need of volunteers for the scholarship selection committee, or are you filling that role as a?
I haven't been asked, and I didn't expect to be asked, because it's a STEM scholarship, and I'm sure Scott has some wonderful teachers that
Oh, okay.
want to
All right.
participate.
So
Do you have any idea who's on the?
I do not.
Okay.
So the humanities take a hit again.
I'm a humanities fan myself.
Only if that's.
Haven't talked to Scott.
All
Humanities makes for
Well, he-
interesting people.
All right, so we have no other business. Do I have a motion to adjourn? We have the motion? Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 500. Thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.